Welcome once again to our segment, VOD Recaps. In today's session, I'll be delving into a film from the year 2011, which is a blend of biography, comedy and drama, and it goes by the name The Untouchables. I must caution you that there will be spoilers in this recap, so if you haven't watched the movie yet, please be wary and ensure you're okay with that. On a particular evening in the city of Paris, Driss is aft the wheel, driving Philippe, his employer, around the city. They find themselves stuck in traffic, and Driss, not one for patience, decides to speed up, weaving through the traffic, paying no heed to the traffic rules. This reckless driving catches the attention of the police, and they give chase. Driss, in a playful mood, wagers €100 that he can evade them. However, his confidence is short-lived as the police manage to corner them after they drive under a bridge. But Driss isn't one to be easily deterred. He ups the ante and places a bet of €200, claiming he can convince the police to escort them. When the police ask them to step out of the car, Driss puts on an act, feigning indignation, and informs them that Philippe is paralyzed, and he was rushing him to the hospital. The police, upon discovering a wheelchair in the car and witnessing Philippe's feigned convulsions, believe the story. Recognizing the urgency, they decide to escort them to the hospital. Elated at having won the bet, Driss plays the song September by the band Earth, Wind and Amp Fire. Once they reach the hospital and the police leave, Driss and Philippe share a moment, lighting up a cigarette. Driss assures Philippe he's got everything under control, and they leave just before the hospital staff can approach them. This unique bond between Driss and Philippe started several months prior. Philippe, along with his assistant Magali, was in the process of interviewing candidates for the position of his caretaker. The interviews weren't going particularly well, with most candidates giving cliched or uncomfortable responses. However, the atmosphere in the room changes when Driss barges in, not waiting for his turn. He's there with a singular purpose, to get a document signed stating that he wasn't selected for the job, which would allow him to claim unemployment benefits. Driss's demeanor is brash, and he even flirts with Magali. But Philippe is entertained by his audacity and asks him to return the next day to collect the signed document. After the interview, Driss heads back to his modest home. He attempts to take a bath, but his numerous younger siblings keep interrupting him. His elder sister, Mina, steps in to help manage the situation. As he waits for their mother to return, Driss spots his brother Adama, alighting from a dubious-looking car. Adama's evasive answers raise Driss's suspicions. Later that evening, their mother returns, and Adama presents her with a stolen Fabergé egg, claiming he had been on vacation. She's not pleased with his sudden reappearance after a 6-month absence, and fed up with his deceitful ways and considering the well-being of her other children, she asks him to leave and not return. Driss spends that night with some friends from the neighborhood, sharing smokes and snacks. The following day, he returns to Philippe's residence to collect the document. He's greeted by Yvonne, the housekeeper, who gives him a tour of the mansion, explaining Philippe's daily routine and showing him the room he'd be provided, complete with a private bathroom. Driss is particularly taken by the bathtub. When he finally meets Philippe, he's handed the signed document but also offered a job. Driss agrees to a 1-month trial period, but Philippe playfully predicts that Driss won't last even 2 weeks. After moving his belongings into his designated room, Driss undergoes training on the specifics of caring for Philippe. This training encompasses understanding the methods to maintain stimulation in Philippe's legs, the correct way to transfer him into his wheelchair, and the procedures to assist him during showers and while changing his attire. Driss encounters moments of discomfort, especially when he learns about the more intimate aspects of the job, such as helping Philippe with high stockings and cleaning him post-restroom use. Even though Driss voices his reservations and initially refuses to perform these tasks, he eventually recognizes them as integral components of his role and accepts them. Later during the night, as Driss is savoring a snack on the rooftop, his solitude is disrupted by Elisa, Philippe's daughter, and her boyfriend Bastien. The couple, in search of a secluded spot, are taken aback by Driss's presence. Driss, unwilling to share his beer or his private space, promptly asks them to vacate the area. As the days progress, Driss becomes more familiar with his daily responsibilities concerning Philippe. While he does commit errors initially, such as handing the phone directly to Philippe instead of placing it against his ear or neglecting the baby monitor during his bath, He learns from these oversights. Driss also becomes proficient in sorting and organizing Philippe's mail into distinct folders. While he is entrusted with opening the majority of Philippe's letters, there are certain private correspondences he is explicitly instructed not to peruse. Upon discovering a promotional flyer for female escorts, Driss humorously creates a separate folder for such materials, despite Philippe's directive to discard them. Life in this new role isn't solely about work for Driss. He ensures he finds moments of leisure and enjoyment. He persistently flirts with Magali, albeit without success, and occasionally invites escorts for company. On one particular morning, Yvonne, while admonishing Driss for his tardiness, stumbles upon potentially dangerous weapons in his bag. However, she chooses to withhold her comments on the discovery for the time being. Today's task for Driss involves chauffeuring Philippe. Rejecting the idea of transporting Philippe in the rear of a van, Driss opts for one of the more luxurious, albeit less frequently used cars from the garage. Philippe, initially skeptical of this choice and advocating for a more practical approach, soon becomes enthused at the prospect of a more exhilarating journey, even though Yvonne expresses her reservations. As they attempt to exit the premises, their path is blocked by a neighbor's car, which is parked inappropriately, blatantly disregarding the no parking signage. Driss, displaying his assertive nature, confronts the neighbor, resorting to physical intimidation to ensure the car is relocated. Philippe admires Driss's forthrightness, but Yvonne predictably expresses her disapproval. The duo's destination is an art museum, where Philippe contemplates purchasing a piece of art. Driss candidly shares his perspective, finding the artwork a mere red blotch, exorbitantly priced. Subsequently, a relative of Philippe's shares concerns about Driss's aggressive tendencies and reveals his criminal background. However, Philippe remains unfazed by these revelations. He values Driss's candidness and the fact that Driss interacts with him without any semblance of pity, often indulging in playful banter. Following yet another unsuccessful attempt to flirt with Magali, Driss finds himself sharing a meal with Yvonne in the kitchen. As they dine, they overhear Philippe dictating a letter intended for Magali. Yvonne, asserting the privacy of the conversation, switches off the baby monitor. She then fills Driss in on some background. Philippe has been exchanging letters with a woman named Eleanor. These were the letters that Driss was explicitly instructed not to open. Interestingly, Philippe has never met Eleanor face-to-face. Their relationship is solely based on their written correspondence. Transitioning to the topic of romance, Driss playfully teases Yvonne about the affectionate glances she often receives from the gardener. Later, as Driss attempts to get some rest, he is disturbed by unsettling noises emanating from the baby monitor. It becomes evident that Philippe is struggling to breathe. Despite his initial reluctance, Driss's concern compels him to attend to Philippe. He calmly assists Philippe through the episode, using comforting words and a damp cloth to refresh his face. Once the ordeal subsides and Philippe drifts into sleep, he soon awakens, expressing a need for fresh air. Without hesitation, Driss assists Philippe into his wheelchair, wraps him in blankets, and takes him for a nocturnal riverside excursion. As they meander, Philippe, witnessing the nighttime beauty of Paris after a long hiatus, opens up to Driss. He speaks of the limitations of his medication and the occasional phantom pains he endures. They also discuss Philippe's inability to physically satisfy a woman due to his condition, though he mentions deriving pleasure from ear massages, given their sensitivity. When Philippe's phantom pain threatens to resurface, Driss offers him a joint. Initially hesitant, Philippe eventually partakes and finds it enjoyable. Subsequently, the duo visits a restaurant, indulging in light-hearted banter and a shared meal. As the evening progresses, Philippe delves deeper into his personal history. He speaks of meeting his wife during their student years. Following their marriage, she endured 5 miscarriages and was eventually diagnosed with a terminal illness. This led them to adopt Elisa. Philippe, always having had a penchant for thrill-seeking activities, took up paragliding. It was during one such session, marred by adverse weather, that he suffered a crash, resulting in his spinal injury. However, he believes that his true handicap isn't the wheelchair, but the void left by his wife's absence. Amidst their jovial conversation, Philippe has an epiphany regarding the date, realizing that Driss has successfully completed his 1-month trial period. He's now an official employee. However, Philippe has one condition. Driss must return the stolen Fabergé egg, a cherished gift from his wife. She had gifted him one annually, with the collection symbolizing their 25 years together. The subsequent day sees Driss seeking out Mina as she departs from school. She expresses her displeasure at Driss's lack of communication, save for his request regarding the egg. She also informs him of police inquiries at their residence. Later, Driss confronts Adama, who admits to being caught with a significant amount of illegal substances. Driss proposes a meal together, but Adama declines, opting instead to join the occupants of a familiar, dubious-looking vehicle. Subsequently, Driss is given permission to be in the room as Philippe communicates the content of a letter meant for Eleanor, which Magali is writing down. Driss feels that the ornate style of the letter is tedious and suggests Philippe should communicate more straightforwardly. He's also surprised to learn that this correspondence has been ongoing for half a year without the exchange of photographs. Discovering her contact number on a letter, he interprets it as an invitation and dials her, leading Philippe to engage in a verbal conversation with her beyond just letters. Their telephonic interactions become so engaging that Philippe finds himself frequently talking to her, even moments before they go to the opera. At this event, Driss derives amusement from humorously critiquing the performer's attire. The following day sees Driss persuading Philippe to consider sharing photographs with Eleanor, and he selects a snapshot of Philippe in his mobility device. Later, while engrossed in his artistic endeavor, Elisa unexpectedly enters his space, ridiculing his artistic aspirations and seeking cigarettes. Irritated, he directs her to leave. He then approaches Philippe, who is in the midst of discussing with Yvonne about replacing the selected image with one from before his physical impairment. Yvonne discreetly places this image within a folder related to escorts, just as Driss enters, expressing his dissatisfaction about Elisa's behavior. He feels Philippe should offer her corrective guidance, a sentiment Yvonne shares. While Philippe agrees to address it, he's predominantly intrigued by the revelation of Driss's artistic pursuits. Time progresses, and the bond between Philippe and Driss deepens. Driss organizes snowy escapades for Philippe and also includes him during his jogging sessions. In return, Philippe presents Driss with his first formal attire and offers parental guidance to his child, with Driss covertly listening using a monitoring device. Upon completing his initial artwork, Driss showcases it to Magali, who responds to his romantic gesture with a sharp slap. Conversely, Philippe extends his commendation for the artwork and assures Driss of his efforts towards its potential sale. The duo relish their shared moments, partaking in activities such as acquiring a speedier vehicle, communal marijuana sessions, and jointly availing the services of escorts. Upon the arrival of Philippe's annual birth commemoration, his enthusiasm is noticeably subdued. Traditionally, he feigns astonishment at the organized festivity and hesitantly interacts with distant relatives whose visits seem to be motivated solely by the need to confirm his ongoing vitality. Philippe anticipates a mundane affair. Concurrently, as attendees are engrossed in classical melodies, Driss embarks on a quest to locate Elisa, who is engulfed in sorrow in her private quarters after consuming Yvonne's medicinal tablets, only to be disillusioned by their non-lethal effect. Her melancholy is attributed to Bastien, severing their romantic ties and casting aspersions on her character. She implores Driss to intercede on her behalf with Bastien, a task he agrees to but for a fee. Simultaneously, Philippe is showcasing Driss's artistic creation to a family member, successfully persuading him to acquire it for a sum of 11,000 euros. Thereafter, Driss engages in a conversation with Yvonne, gleaning that Magali's romantic liaison with an individual named Fred is currently on shaky grounds, thereby kindling optimism in Driss. As the festivities' fervor diminishes, Philippe acquaints Driss with iconic classical music tracks, eliciting jestful responses from Driss. Once the live ensemble concludes, Driss curates a musical selection from his iPod, choosing Boogie Wonderland by the band Earth, Wind and Amp Fire, captivating attendees with his dance prowess. His exuberance proves contagious, drawing many to the dance floor, a sight Philippe finds delightful. Later, as Driss assists Philippe in settling down for the night, he reads out a fresh letter from Eleanor. She has included her photograph, revealing her attractiveness, and suggests they should convene the following week during her Parisian visit. On the anticipated day, Yvonne and Driss help Philippe sift through numerous clothing choices until they pinpoint the ideal ensemble. Since Yvonne is designated to accompany Philippe, Driss uses his break to confront Bastian, ensuring he makes amends to Eliza with daily gestures of goodwill and also requests a hairstyle change. Subsequently, Driss observes his mother during her work shift from a distance without making his presence known. At the dining venue, Philippe and Yvonne patiently await Eleanor's arrival, but she is significantly delayed. After an extended wait, a disheartened Philippe decides to depart, inadvertently missing Eleanor, who arrives just as he exits. That evening, Philippe and Driss embark on a journey aboard Philippe's personal aircraft. Philippe presents Driss with the proceeds from the artwork sale, evoking immense gratitude. By dawn, they reach a rural location where Philippe introduces the thrill of paragliding to Driss. Despite initial reservations, Driss eventually finds joy in the experience. Upon their return, Adama greets them. Concerned by visible injuries on Adama's face, Driss admonishes him. Adama remains tight-lipped about his circumstances, prompting Driss to reach out to Mina for reassurance before attending to Philippe. However, Philippe isn't in a mood to rest. After discussing art, he expresses curiosity about Driss's family background. Hesitant at first, Driss eventually shares his personal history, revealing his true origins and familial ties. Taking a leaf from Driss's book, Philippe advises that Adama needs guidance and makes the difficult decision to let Driss go, believing he should be with his family. The subsequent day, as Driss prepares to depart, he has a final interaction with Magali, learning of her romantic preferences. As he exits, he exchanges parting words with Yvonne, returning a baby monitor and receiving a photograph in return. Outside, Driss confronts a vehicle obstructing the driveway, standing his ground on principle. Later, he and Adama have a reunion with their mother. Back at Philippe's residence, Philippe grapples with the monotony of his new caregiver, longing for Driss's presence. As time progresses, Driss reverts to his previous lifestyle, reconnecting with old acquaintances and safeguarding Adama. During a job interview, he leverages his art knowledge gained from his time with Philippe, securing a position as a chauffeur. Concurrently, Philippe's dissatisfaction with his new caregiver grows. One evening, Philippe's intense discomfort prompts Yvonne to contact Driss, leading to the events of the police chase and hospital visit. Post this adventure, Driss escorts Philippe to a coastal location, offering him solace. After some time, Driss aids Philippe with personal grooming and escorts him to a dining venue. However, Driss makes an early exit, leaving Philippe to meet another guest. As Philippe waits with anticipation, he is pleasantly surprised by Eleanor's arrival, who warmly greets him, undeterred by his physical condition. In real life, Count Philippe Pozzo di Borgo has settled in Morocco, entered a new marital bond, and is a father to 2 girls. The real-life counterpart of Driss, Abdel Yasmin Selou, is an entrepreneur, happily married, and a proud father to 3 kids. Their enduring friendship stands as a testament to their unique bond. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more.